Good evening, New Bedford Guide and Greater New Bedford. Chris Resendes back for the Chris Resendes Show. And Mike doesn't have his phone on mute today. Today we got some good guests, as usual. It's National Heart Disease Month, it is. And we got Dr. Mike from Hawthorne Medical to discuss that. We also have my good friend Taylor to discuss being a child of an addict. In past episodes, we've gone through pretty much all those affected by the opioid epidemic, and we're going to continue to crack at it and hopefully get people help. You know, each guest that comes on, we're hoping that they touch someone and they get something in their heart that makes them want to get help. And Taylor's an extraordinary person. She's been through so much, and she continues to go through stuff, and she just keeps pushing through, and she's an inspiration to a lot of people, and we're going to discuss that. She'll be on around 7:30. I got it right, I didn't say 8:30 this time. And we're going to do Dr. Mike for the first half of the segment, but Taylor will be on for the second half of the show. So let's get to it. Dr. Mike Rocha from Hawthorne Medical and New Bedford Well. How are you, Mike?
I'm great. How are you, Chris?
Still getting over the first 30-second jitters. It doesn't go away each episode. As you know, you've been on a couple times now. Every month we have these awareness campaigns, and you and I had sat down a couple times already and discussed stuff, and I never realized that heart disease is the #1 cause of death in the world until you brought it up. Everybody just kind of overlooks it, and everybody's just like, oh, it's guns, it's cars, it's this, it's that, when statistically nothing's remotely close. I mean, we're looking at killing over 375,000 Americans a year die of heart disease. What's going on with our country? Is it preventative? What can we do?
Yeah, well, I think that we do really well with acute care. So if a person has a heart attack or somebody has an acute event, we do really well in this country. But many of the things that we're taking care of are chronic diseases. And, so the things that lead to heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, being overweight, smoking, those things actually are preventive. And we can do a better job of really working on fine-tuning those things. We have opportunities that we don't realize are really medicine. Food is medicine. Exercise is medicine.
Absolutely.
Community is medicine. And, the more that we learn, loneliness is a disease. And, we're starting to see that these things don't just affect our emotional well-being. They also affect our physical well-beings.
Hey, you brought up that loneliness thing.
Yeah.
There was a guy on Facebook, I don't know if you saw it, where he just stayed out of contact with everyone for 10 days. And he went crazy.
Right.
He just went absolutely nuts. Then you bring up the walking and exercising. My wife and I, we've talked about this. Used to walk every single day, right, together, and it was our time together. We used to bring the dog a lot, but with kids that kind of goes by the wayside. You know how that works. And not only are you doing well for yourself, but it's a good time for people to get out and enjoy some fresh air, something that we don't normally do. In general, I try to go to the gym all the time, but I had an awakening last year when my doctor told me, hey man, you got to get on cholesterol meds and possibly high blood pressure medicine, and I'm like, oh man, I'm just turning 40 here. I haven't even turned 40 yet.
Right.
So I made some cautious decisions. I lost 30 pounds. And, he told me this several times prior because I have a thyroid issue that I have to continually go. And then, my January appointment came. He's like, dude, still not good, So then May came. I lost some weight. I've been exercising. I changed my lifestyle. And he's like, you don't need medicine anymore.
Right.
You're good. He's like, as a matter of fact, your thyroid's doing wonderful at this point. Because we were having trouble leveling it off.
Yep.
And I guess the diet and exercise helps that too.
We keep talking about cures. The cure is in the prevention. And the reality is that what we're trying to do here is to get people to realize that they are their own best doctor. We should really be, as docs, we should be coaches. We're not just prescribers. We should actually empowering patients to be the best that they can be. And we don't always do that. And I think that sometimes we as physicians sometimes take the easier way out, and we may prescribe something. But I think that, challenging yourself like you did to try to be able to make those changes and then not need it, that's a huge win for you. And, I think that that's really important. And that's what we should be trying to do first. And, I think the other thing is at this time of year, it's a little bit more challenging as it's not as easy to walk.
No, it's
right?
not at all, yeah.
So,
and the warm days are wet generally.
Yep. So trying to find those options of being able to keep moving or do something indoors is, that's maybe the best that people could do. But there's a lot of ways, even within people's houses. Just getting up and down the stairs, making sure that you just consciously get up and move, and that, we can't just sit in the couch. We have to keep moving.
It's tough because sometimes in the cold weather, the couch is a great place to be.
Right.
I'm all like, yesterday I had training all day. I'm a defensive tactics instructor for the court system. So, we moved around, but it really wasn't much exercise, when you're instructing. But when I got home, it was just one of those days I just wanted to sit down, after a long day. So I do have those days also. And I guess you just got to find the proper balance.
Yeah. I try to do little things with patients. For example, I'll say, we all have, or many of us have, smartphones that actually count our steps.
Yeah.
And some people say, hey, well, I was really active at work today and blah, blah, blah. And you go, all right, how many steps? And they look down and they're like, oh, like 2,000. I said, oh, how about trying at the end of your day just to try to make a number that's reachable. Try to get to 5,000. So when you get home, take a look at your phone, be honest, check in the mirror and say, how many steps did you get to? And either challenge yourself to whatever number, 5,000, 10,000.
Yeah.
And that way you're kind of just always kind of just being aware of where you're at.
Even as couples, co-workers, or friends, you can get a little challenge going on.
No doubt.
It's something, if you want to put some competition into it. I know I'm competitive, so I'd probably do a little more walking if that were the case,
Yep.
Now, there is prevention with this heart disease.
Yep.
And, we talk about exercise. What type of diets do you recommend? I know, you had a little quiz that you had sent me for Love Your Heart Month, and some of the diets you brought up are in that quiz, but also, me as a person, I went out and I did my own diet, but I didn't really have a nutritionist tell me.
Right.
I was thinking that maybe my doctor would say, hey, we should get you a nutritionist, but he didn't. So that's neither here nor there, but if a guy like me that has to lose 30 pounds to get his cholesterol down and just wants to be able to live around for his 5 and 2-year-olds, what do we do?
Yeah, so the first thing, top of the list, vegetables and fruits. Just about every diet that's healthy is going to start with that. And, there's actually the DASH diet has been shown to if people eat, actually it's part of the quiz, I don't want to give it away yet, but so
it's on the screen, so people are taking it as they're listening.
So if people are eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and the DASH diet actually is 8 fruits and vegetables a day, you can lower your blood pressure by about 10 points, which is actually pretty good when it's coming up against medications, right? So, and I get those people sometimes say, I don't eat any vegetables. So going 1 or 2 is actually a big deal, but there's ways that you can kind of mix in a whole bunch of things throughout your day. If you say, okay, well, I start, with some fruits in the morning, and you do a salad at lunch, and you put a lot of different vegetables in that, you can hack your way through the day, so to speak, that you've got, more vegetables in one sitting than you think. And so it's all very doable.
I'm a smoothie guy.
Yep.
First thing in the morning, that's what I do. That's all I have time for.
Right.
I grab my little mixer, I'll throw in a banana, my strawberries, my blueberries, and some peanut butter in there,
right,
and the protein obviously, and then all of a sudden you're up on your way to your accomplishment of your 10 vegetables or fruits per day.
Yep, and I think that the thing is you have to be very careful because certain foods that you may eat in the morning, you have to ask yourself, well, how do you feel? So if you're eating certain things that have lots of sugar in it or lots of white flour stuff and you're hungry 2 hours later, then you're not sustaining yourself. And I think that what you have to do, for example, every morning I start with some steel-cut oats, some nuts, some berries, and a cup of coffee, right? And that's actually the way I pretty much start every day. And, it's not just eating for comfort, it's eating to live, right? And that's one of the things that we have to take. It's
that's the issue. A lot of people use food as enjoyment rather than sustenance.
It's an antidepressant, right? People treat it as an antidepressant.
Yeah.
But the other thing is the Mediterranean diet is there's not one Mediterranean diet, but it has common threads, and that typically is the one that's been studied the most for heart disease, and it's been shown to reduce strokes, heart attacks, and death because of a stroke or heart attack. So that actually consists of lots of vegetables and fruits, nuts, olive oil, good fats, avocados, lean meats, fish. Fish is good for you in a lot of ways, and many studies looked at that. Whole grains, like the steel-cut oats or the brown rice or quinoa or that kind of things, and really limits your dairy, limits your sweets, refined grains. I should say it's like white flour stuff.
Yeah. Basically, this junk just turns into sugar anyway.
Yeah, and then also limits red meat. So those are it's kind of a good place.
That's where you lose me.
Yeah, well, I said limit, right?
Yeah.
So and I think it's the one that's most attainable for people, because if you say, look, I want you to just cut everything out.
Can't do it.
It's not going to happen, right?
No,
and that's where people fall down when they go on specific diets, because they say, well, we've cut all these things out, and what we find is on these fad diets that people gain it all back afterwards. So what it has to be is it's changing lifestyle. It's not a diet.
Yeah.
It's like, and the thing is most of the time if you're eating healthy, the secondary gain is the weight loss. I try to work with people and say, it's not about the weight loss. It's about how do you feel after you eat? And then you go, oh, I feel better. Or, 2 hours later, I'm tired. Or I get this big, energy high, and then I crash down. Then you're not eating in a sustainable way. And your body, if you really pay attention to it, it's going to be able to be a good guide as to how you're feeling.
Absolutely. I mean, with each person digest their food differently. Like everybody's mechanism is different. We're all humans, but we all process what we ingest differently.
Yep.
So certain diets work for certain people. I guess I'm just making an excuse because I love steak, and it works for me. But not to continue with the point on how you said people like to gain, to lose, and all that stuff.
Yep. I
learned this from a vet. My dog's a little overweight. Ozzy, he's a little plumpy bulldog, and they didn't say just cut it all out.
Yeah.
My vet specifically said if he loses a pound or 2 a month, that's incredible.
Yeah, right, and that's important. He's
going to feel better, and everything else is going to work better. So just you don't have to. I guess what I'm trying to say is, people, don't kill yourself, and just go cold turkey on everything. Right.
And I was there. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, I did the TEDx New Bedford talk. I put up there my own story, and I was eating at Aubin as a medical resident and put on a lot of weight. I was 230 pounds at that point.
I can't picture you at 230.
Yeah, I was 230. I went from being a basketball player to just not being in balance, and so it happens fast. And but the thing is that it's about making healthier choices and feeling better. And so
a lot of people don't realize that Dr. Mike's a state champion, by the way.
A long time ago, and
it's all right.
Far away.
They can't take that from you, brother. They can't take that from you. A lot of people never have been there, and you have. So,
well, the glasses and the reduced height, people may not believe.
Man, I'll be honest with you. When I first, I'm like, no, and then it's like, yep, he was, and he can still ball, guys. All right, let's move on to a different topic. I mean, we're just going to touch upon smoking.
Yeah, tough one.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, the tobacco industry, I'm a smoker of many years. I've quit since I've had children. Thank God.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing. I appreciate my wife a lot for it, because now I'm going to be able to live longer for my children, hopefully, because of that decision. And she, pushed me through it. It took a lot of trying, and finally, your son, your wife, you're like, all right, man, now's the time. But it wasn't easy. And it's also a huge factor with heart disease.
Yep, no doubt. Yeah, and unfortunately, smoking is still responsible for 20% of deaths. So it's a big deal. And I think that in our community, unfortunately, we're about 3% higher than the rest of the state, and it's a real challenge. And it's the good news is people do stop smoking, and I give everybody a big high five when they're able to do that, because I know how important that is for just so many things. But it's an addiction, and it's one of those things that. people start out young, and it's a real hard one to change. We've been a little creative at the wellness program on Sundays, and this week he'll be there is John Barboza is a hypnotist, so we've been trying to do some different things, and in a lot of ways, sometimes medications work for people, sometimes cold turkey is the way that people are able to quit, and it's don't give up, so for some people it may be the 4th or the 5th or the 6th, whatever.
I tried many
whatever
times,
it is, but and I think that people just keep coming back, and it's important for us as physicians to keep reminding people and never give up, because it's important to help coach and guide those people to the right direction.
I got a quick question I'm going to take from somebody that's viewing. R.A. Ponce asks, what is regurgitation in the heart?
Yeah, so regurgitation, when the valves close, so each chamber of the heart, 4 chambers of the heart, there's at different times, one valve will close compared to 2 valves close at one time, and the other 2 valves pretty much close pretty close to the. And when those valves close, typically the blood flow does not go back through that valve. If there's a little bit of backflow at that time, that's when the valve is closed and some of the blood is actually going backwards through the closed valve. So that's regurgitation. Hopefully that answers that question.
Confused the heck out of me, but I didn't ask it, so we're just going to pass it along. Let's keep moving now on the heart thing. Now, we talked about the prevention as far as diet. We talked about the smoking.
Yep.
And obviously with diet comes the obesity. Obesity is a factor
Yep.
when it comes to heart disease.
It is.
Your body's getting extra strain put on it, and your heart is pumping blood throughout your body, and it's the engine that drives your blood.
Yeah, it also drives what we call metabolic syndrome sometimes. And metabolic syndrome is kind of abnormal blood sugars, or sometimes diabetes or prediabetes, high blood pressure, abnormal cholesterol. Sometimes we actually see thyroid problems mixed in with some of those issues. So it is, again, it can raise a lot of the risk factors. And, like we talked about, it's one of those things that it's about eating healthy to try to avoid those things and creating a culture. Right, and sometimes it can be certain things culturally that certain foods and different things that we may have to kind of just be very careful of. And
people's schedules are tough too. We say all this stuff, and I'm always on the go now. And unfortunately, to sustain, there's days where I live off protein bars and protein shakes, and I just stuff it in my bag.
Yep.
So that way I'm not stopping places. You just plan ahead a little bit, throw some nuts, some almonds in a bag,
yep.
and that's what I find. So scheduling is tough, whether it's schooling, parenting, working. We have a million excuses on why, you can't get it done, and it's tough. The gym sometimes is something I can't accomplish. Today's one of those days, work, kids, show.
Right.
Put the kids to bed. I'd be at the gym at midnight tonight. Not that I haven't been. I used to go late all the time, but sleep's also important too. It's something Dr. Mike doesn't do. He says he does, but I don't believe it. I don't believe he does way too much to sleep.
I think what you said though is a really good point for people. Is that what's faster than an apple or an orange? That's pretty fast. And a handful of nuts could be your way that if you put that, because everybody, when we're stopping at the convenience store, the convenience, unfortunately, is oftentimes not the easiest choice, right?
When you're at Cumbies and you see a bag of gummy worms and a Snickers bar, who the heck wants that apple? So you just got to make it so you don't stop at Cumbies.
I think that what happens, though, is as we change our diets, though, like, for example, I can't eat things that are very sweet anymore. I really can't. And I think that what happens is you start to taste foods differently. Things that you think didn't have taste very differently.
Yeah,
so we have got those set points that are just,
100%.
And unfortunately, a lot of the food industries they have scientists that are figuring out what's going to cut it, how the food tastes,
absolutely.
And so, I think it's important to realize that, it's almost as if you're coming off of those foods that how it changes.
You just brought up a point. I mean, maybe this is why I felt horrible this morning, because I told Mike before the show, I said, last night I actually slept and I woke up miserable. Normally I get 5 to 6 hours, which is bad itself. But also, I'm going to admit something else. Maybe I felt bad because I don't eat chocolate anymore. And guess who stole all his kids' candy last night?
Okay.
Me. I actually felt guilty. I'm like, all right, Bray, you're not going to miss this huge Hershey kiss.
Now your kids.
And I went.
Now I know who took it.
They don't watch the show anyway. My wife, I'm like, you watch the show? She's like, a little bit. The kids are crazy. I'm like, you don't care. So, yeah, I mean, maybe that's what it was, that, your body gets used to it. It becomes a habit. And once you make some changes and you see your doctor not telling you, hey, you don't belong on cholesterol meds anymore. Hey, you don't need to worry about that blood pressure med. And you go to the gym and you look in the mirror and you're like, hey, man, I look good, man. I feel good. It becomes a habit. It becomes addictive. And it's something you can go off the deep end with exercise. We all see that in diet as well.
Yep.
Everything in moderation is fine. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not a medical professional like yourself, but if you, here and there, you do a little bit of exercise and once in a while you indulge to get away the cravings, you can do it.
For many people, there's some people though, it's just that one time, it's like in their back, and and that happens a lot of times when you look at the holidays. People get into trouble, and then
it's tough to dig themselves out of that hole.
So if they can really treat it with an awareness, and they have to know themselves, I think that's the biggest thing, is that people have to say, hey, you know what? I know that if I go ahead and do this, that for the next 2 weeks I'm going to be in that rut again, and they have to be honest with themselves, and they have to be able to say, okay, I can or cannot. And you're right, some people can every once in a while is okay. Sometimes they can't, and what happens though too when we look at food though is there's a lot of these instances, or even smoking. I see this happen a lot. There's something happens in a family, or something happens to them, lose a job, or someone passes away, or somebody that they is really sick and they take care of, and they go back to sometimes their old habits because it's comfortable. It's a crutch. And I think that what we have to do is we have to help them and help them realize, and not to be judgmental, it's to say, hey, you know what? I get it. I know where you're feeling. Let's try to work with this. Because one of the things that happens is that you don't want people to feel like they're just down on themselves, because then they really, it's like, here, we're going to help you again. We're going to say, okay, this is where you're at. It's no problem. We'll meet you where you're at, and we're going to help you to get back to where you need to be. Because sometimes people come in and they're so down. They're like, it's not. We're here to help you, and that's really the most important thing. And like I said, my own story. I had definitely fallen down a path of not eating healthy, being stressed out, working ridiculous hours, and it can happen to me, who's supposed to be trained, that it can happen to anybody.
Yeah,
and that's where I meet people where they're at.
I'm 1 year removed from man boobs and a bad diet. So it's. And I can easily get back. It doesn't take much.
Right.
It does not take much. I put on weight getting my wife food. She's one of those lucky ones that eats whatever she wants.
Yeah, it's not fair, right?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah.
And then you got that bag of McDonald's that she loves.
Right.
And there's fries in there that actually I would want to dip my hand into. And I'm like, no, just here, take this junk. You're talking about getting these people to help, doing all this stuff for these, and you New Bedford your organization that you run has really been stepping it up. You got these mall walks that people are doing. You're giving away prizes for challenges.
Yeah.
You set up a challenge with a group from Worcester that does something similar.
Yep.
Explain the walk and then explain the challenge.
Yes. So Walk with a Doc is actually international. I think there's 360 or maybe even more sites across the world. And every doc that runs it has to do it at least once a month. So we actually stepped it up at the beginning of this year, and now we have 10 other doctors, and we're doing it once a week. So it's become more of a walking group. And typically in the summer we do it at Buttonwood Park, and in the winter we do it at the mall. It's usually about 2 miles, whatever way it works out. 4 times around the mall or once around Buttonwood Park. And there's only 2 chapters in Massachusetts. And my friend Nandita Kansara is a primary care doctor, internal medicine doctor in Worcester, and she's got tremendous energy. And she works out of St. Vincent's Hospital, and she's been doing the walk for several years as well. So she had a big week. She had 45 walkers a couple of weeks ago. I said, "Look, we need to get New Bedford motivated." So I said, "Let's do a little challenge. Let's see who can get the most number of walkers this week." And she ended up with 57 walkers, which I think was her largest number of walkers, and we ended up with 74 in New Bedford last weekend on Saturday, and we walked at the same time. And, I think that people that hadn't seen one another, and, you do the walk with a bunch of people in a group, you don't even know that it happened. And I think that, again, bringing community and it's a lot of fun.
That's also part of it.
It's fun.
Yeah, we're not just getting healthy. You're bringing people together, and then with this, I'm sure you're getting people that are doing other things too, other causes that you're involved in. You're getting them, you're recruiting them to do other stuff,
Yeah. So we had, like I said, we had 74 walkers, and it was, we're going to do it again this week. Dr. John Beer, who's a cardiologist with me, is going to lead the walk. And the nice thing is the doctors that are doing it there's doctors from Greater New Bedford Community Health Center, Hawthorne, and South Coast that are all decided that they're going to take their turn. And I think that it gives us this ability to collaborate and bring more people and more patients together. And if you could put the benefits of a walk into a pill, I mean, it helps with your mental health. It helps with high blood pressure, your diabetes, cardiovascular disease. It's like the wonder pill, right?
And just walking alone. I mean, I said it earlier. I used to do it with the wife, and it's just fun to get out there and talk to your spouse or significant other, because the world's busy.
Right.
So when you're walking around, unless you plan on, you're not staring at your phone. You're getting some fresh air. You're having a conversation. Something that's lacking of like.
Face-to-face time?
Face-to-face time, And it's part of doing this New Bedford guy thing I've learned is I'm way more social. Like I get out and I'll meet you at the cafe or you know what I mean? I meet the guests and go talk to people. And that's part of the reward of doing this show. It's been cool. Like I'm like, man, I'm not always on Facebook chatting with people. I still go on Facebook because it's all intricate part of what I do. But the face-to-face time that you go out for a walk and you enjoy someone else's company and you're not staring at your phone for the half hour you're walking is huge. I mean, that alone, people, like, I know right now it's cold. My wife went out for a jog today. It was wet, but she got out there. And it's a nice time to just enjoy life.
It is. And at this time, the mall is open at 6 o'clock in the morning for people to walk, except for Sundays, I think it's 9.
And it's free, right?
It's free. You go there and walk. And, I think that it's especially this time of year, and some people, I mean, they like the gym. There's some people that they don't like the gym. That's not, you tell them. So it gives people an opportunity to say, hey, look, this is free. I can go do this, and I can get my exercise. And, usually when we go there, there's a couple of super walkers at that mall that are there like every day, and they do like probably 4 miles, and they've already been there for a while by the time we show up, and they're like buzzing around and lapping us kind of thing. But, everybody should be able to walk at their own pace. And one of the things that's important about the walks we do is that, we do end up with people that may have either physical, like orthopedic issues or cardiovascular things. And it's like people walk at your own pace. This isn't a race. You don't get a number. You don't have to finish fast. Walk at your own pace.
Enjoy your time.
If you say you got to sit, and the nice thing about the mall, benches. You stop. You sit. So I think that it's really an underutilized opportunity. Of course, if there's too many people that are shopping and and using too much money, I guess that's good for the mall sometimes. Maybe not good for the pocketbook, but it's all.
If you get in there early enough, you can get out fast enough. It's all part of the plan. All right, let's move on to you had something pretty cool happen recently. You were over at City Hall.
Yep.
And Mayor Mitchell made an official proclamation that February 8th was Love Your Heart Day.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Love Your Heart, we've been very fortunate in New Bedford. We are the only Love Your Heart site on the East Coast. So Love Your Heart actually started in San Diego, I think about 12 years ago. A friend of mine, Nick Macchione, is the Health and Human Services Director there. And when we talk about heart disease being the number one killer, San Diego County is probably the only county in the country that heart disease is not the number one killer.
No kidding.
Absolutely.
A lot of it has to do with their climate and how cool
everybody says that, though, but they have their own challenges there. And there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily naturally healthy there. But what they have done is they've got all the mayors and all the counties bought into this concept of Live Well San Diego. And they focus in on diet, exercise, and smoking cessation because they know that those three things lead to over 50% of deaths through cardiovascular disease, through strokes and heart attacks, cancer, diabetes, and pulmonary disease. So they've focused in on that. They do a day every year where they do county-wide blood pressure checks. I think they did 50,000 this year. This is our third year participating in Love Your Heart. And again, recognizing that about 80% of heart attacks are preventable through lifestyle, we wanted to get people to help them know their numbers. And one of those numbers is blood pressure. And so many people don't know their blood pressure. And so half of people that even have high blood pressure, so you're talking about 70 or 80 million people with high blood pressure, only 50% are treated. So we did this Sunday, even though we had the proclamation on the Thursday.
Yeah.
The Sunday was when we went to 20 sites throughout the community and did free blood pressure screenings. We went to churches, we went to community centers, we were at 3 supermarkets in the city, and this year we got to double the number. We did 681 blood pressure checks in the city of New Bedford.
Cool.
And we also provided not just the blood pressure checks, but provided people with information and
On how to get help if necessary.
How to get help, and because there's a lot of people out there that still, like, I don't want to see people come in for the first time and have their heart attack and realize they had diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol, and it was never treated, because that's a tragedy on our part.
Not to digress, but I always do. We always discuss, in America on Facebook, politics, insurance, and everybody's right to health, and insurance costs are so sky high because we don't take care of the preventative stuff.
Yeah,
we are just we just react. We're a reactionary society, and nothing. And
right.
With everything. It's just crazy how reactional we are. And I don't know if it's just us, but it seems like it's,
But you don't see the things that are happening on the inside. And that's the problem is these things are very much silent killers, right?
Yeah, my reaction is when you're having a heart attack, it's too late.
Right. And so you try to get people motivated, et cetera. And I have this conversation all the time with all walks of life. And, it's like, oh, yeah, I don't see it. It's not happening to me until, again, it's too late. And it's really sad to see that happen. And, for us as a community, I think that I'd like to really see us model what they've done in San Diego. Boy, if we could lower heart disease in New Bedford to not the #1 killer anymore, boy, that would be huge. And
absolutely.
I'd be out of business. I'd have to find a new job, right? Because
here's a doctor trying to go out of business.
But you know how much? So how much money do you think is actually allocated on healthcare dollars? Now, again, we spend over $3 trillion a year on healthcare. 17 to 18% of our gross domestic product goes to healthcare. How much do you think goes to wellness and prevention?
I'd say less than 10% of that.
You're right. So about 5%. So about 5% of our healthcare dollars. So
we're reactionary. We're proofs in the pudding.
And we do great. We run. Somebody has a heart attack. We do a very good job treating it. Somebody has a serious arrhythmia, but
we don't need to get to that point.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we don't need to get to that point. Debbie Cronin chimes in and says, "What does the doctor recommend to eat for meals?" We've already discussed that, Deb. You can go back at the beginning, but I can give you the cliff notes: vegetables, fruit, vegetables, fruit. Watch the big hit rewind, pull back the little tab on our screen, and Dr. Mike goes over that real fast. Dr. Mike, one last thing.
Yep.
You got something coming up in May.
Yeah, in May, this is going to be the 3rd annual Southern New England Heart Walk. And we've been doing it at UMass Dartmouth, which is a great site because it's a ring, there's parking, and the American Heart Association has really been trying to partner in our region. They've done a lot of their walks have been in Providence, and they've spent the last couple of years of developing a great walk here in our own region. And I would say that last year we continue to work on growing that walk to grow awareness. There's a lot of people out there, not just strokes and heart attacks, but there's young kids even out there with congenital heart disease. Yeah. And it's a day to sometimes remember people that we may have lost. It's also a day for survivors to kind of, so to speak, show their scars and show that they're still living their lives, because we want people back in the game. Part of the reason that we do the programming or at New Bedford Well is to get people off the bench and get them back in the game. It's not just to prevent, but it's to say, hey, you know what, you still got a lot of life to live. And I'm very excited to have been part of the executive leadership team for this Heart Walk, because there's a lot of people out there that are committed to changing the discussion on heart disease. So May 19th, we have a team, New Bedford Wellness Initiative. If you actually go for the Southern New England Heart Walk, New Bedford Wellness Initiative, you can join our team or donate and share your story. And stories are really can make a difference, because it's almost as if
brings awareness, man.
There's a stigma almost around, like we talked about. If people don't talk about heart disease, it's like they don't really want to necessarily realize that it can happen to young people, and it shouldn't. And we need to step forward and step it up.
Definitely. I'm all about getting the word out, and I honestly, we hear about, we had a tragedy last night, and when you compare these type of tragedies, not to cut them short or
Yep.
say that they're not tragedies in its own, but the numbers are just astounding in comparison. Like heart disease, I didn't realize until we sat down and talked. sequestered Dr. Rocha for an opioid conversation, get some expertise out of him. And, we quickly went back and forth, and we went right to this heart disease being the #1 killer in America.
And even women. So many women think that, for example, breast cancer or cancer is the #1 killer. It's not even close. It's still heart disease for women. And
I had the men and women / here. We didn't get to that, but,
Yep.
Men are more likely, but it still kills plenty of women.
Yeah, and we did a Go Red Day at just the other day at Hawthorne to bring that kind of awareness. We have to, women have to realize oftentimes they're late when they're having symptoms to get checked out. I always say, if you're worried, if in doubt, get checked out. It's really that simple, because I'd rather have, catch people and say that they're well and move on rather than miss somebody. That's really important.
Mike and I are going live on Saturday, I believe. We're going to do a roundtable discussion on current events, and I'm going to see if you can pop in on that. After the show, I'll give you a text.
Okay.
I want to discuss the whole president's SNAP benefits change on getting USDA food and giving people less of a choice, and what you think about it as a medical professional.
Okay.
Because I think that, if you look at the money spent by benefits, soda is #1 on the list.
Yeah,
so if you take that option away, it may help out too. But I want to hear that on Saturday. I want to hear your professional and your personal opinion on that. Thank you, Dr. Mike.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
After this break, guys, we got Taylor coming on. I see a bunch of people in the queue here watching, and they're waiting for Taylor to discuss her story. She's kind of famous around these parts. But right now, we got some Knucklehead stuff to play and pay some bills.
Hi, my name is Andrew. I'm one of the managers here down at Knuckleheads Bar and Grill. Knuckleheads has been in business for over 14 years, and we have some of the freshest seafood around. Here are some of our options that we have. Here is our amazing fisherman's platter that has fish, scallops, clams, shrimp, oysters, onion rings, and French fries. It is so big, I have never seen 2 people finish this platter. If fried seafood is not your thing, we also offer alternatives such as baked scrod with broccoli and rice. If seafood's not your thing, we also have amazing burgers. You can get it in 2 sizes, a ½ pound or this 1 pound burger, and they are delicious. We also have amazing appetizers such as our homemade linguiça and cheese egg rolls. We have great food specials throughout the week, which you can find on our Facebook page, and we also have great entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights with no cover charge. Thank you all for watching us, and hope to see you soon down at Knuckleheads, where everyone knows one.
And we're back, guys. We're here with Taylor Gordon, a friend, a babysitter, a good all-around human being. I've known Taylor since she's a kid. But before I get into that, I was supposed to say something. See, I actually have to make money here somehow. As you can see, these ads that are playing, they're sponsorships on the show. Each and every one of our sponsors has had positive feedback for advertising on New Bedford Guides. I mean, Mario stands by it. We also have Shushkaria Novo Mundo, who we were running a special for before the Super Bowl, actually halfway through the week told us to stop running the ad because they couldn't keep up with all the orders they were getting. So if you're a business out there and you're looking to really get your bang for your buck in advertising, I would definitely reach out to Mike at New Bedford Guide or Leo at New Bedford Guide, and you can see how affordable it is to get these type of commercials like you just saw on the New Bedford Guide and all of our shows. No further ado, Taylor. Taylor Gordon, I met her years ago. Her mom and my mom worked together. Melissa is a great person, great mom, super person, greatest heart, and I've known them since, gosh, I was almost, a kid when I met your mom myself, and we're the same age. So Taylor Gordon. Taylor's the daughter of an addict, folks. We've had shows on addiction throughout this. I'm on episode, I don't even know, whatever, but I've been with Jamie, Kevin Rosario, Wendy, and we just keep going. Reverend Lima, and each aspect of addiction and who it affects and how they are affected. And we do these shows to get people help. I want the parent who's struggling with addiction tonight to see this. And if we can get one parent to do this. Taylor's difficult experience coming here. She's shy. She's nervous. And then when I told her, I said, come on, Taylor, tell your story. And, she said, I'm nervous. I said, well, you're going to help one person. And that's our goal tonight. If you're watching this or you have a friend or a family member who is a parent and struggles with addiction, have them watch this tonight and, show them that the effects that they have, both positive as in recovery and both negative as a user, have on their children. No further ado, here is your time. You can stop smiling and start talking soon. Taylor's super nervous, and there's no need to be nervous. She'll get through this. Taylor, early life, you obviously had some health issues on top, and that's where you first became this super strong woman that we all know.
I did. When I was 6, I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's.
Which I have too.
And then down the line, we realized that I was also diagnosed with celiac disease, so I can't have wheat or gluten. And that was very tough at a young age, not being invited to birthday parties because they didn't have gluten-free food for me, or it wasn't as common as it is now.
Yeah.
I remember getting phone calls saying I couldn't be invited because they didn't know what to feed me. And at an early age, I had to deal with the fact that I was different, not only with my family situation, but also with health issues. I wasn't like all my friends. I couldn't do everything they could do. So that was difficult, at 6 years old.
Absolutely. You just want to be normal.
I did, and then...
But you're more than normal, you're special.
And then after that, that's when I had 2 double knee surgeries because my bones were malnourished from my celiac disease. I got diagnosed with lupus. I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I've had 2 surgeries due to endometriosis. So it just keeps on going, but you learn to keep on going with it.
You've been through I tell everyone, I'm struggling with this. I'm like, dude, I know a kid that's been through that, before 3rd grade. You can get through it, and this girl just keeps pushing. Any family structure, you had your mom, who's my buddy, and a great person, and she gets you through, and you guys
she does.
Battle sometimes. But that's what you guys do, you love each other.
Yeah.
My dad and I did that growing up. And
it's because we're so much alike.
There's no one I respect more on this earth than my old man, She helped you out, get through some stuff,
She did.
She gets you through the medical issues. Your grandpa, very, very, he's a good dude. Was there always for you. But your dad, your biological dad,
Yeah, so it was tough growing up. My mom had me at 21 with him. He's an outstanding guy. He's amazing. He has a heart of gold. But he also had an addiction that took that over. And addiction wasn't easy. So when my mom had me at 21, he had to choose to be a father or to continue the lifestyle he was living. And unfortunately, when you're in the midst of an addiction, you can't see further than addiction. You can't see further than that drug. You can't see further than alcohol, whatever the addiction may be. And as much as you may love people, people can't change you. So unfortunately, it was just my mom and I when she was 21. And a lot of people told her not to go through it, not to do it. But she did it, and now I'm here. And
thank God.
It was hard. Growing up, it was just her and I, and we lived with my grandpa and my uncle. And although I didn't have a dad, I had so many, because I had so many other men fill the shoes that a father was supposed to. And regardless of what my biological dad was going through, what he was doing, I always got a birthday card. I always got a Christmas card. I always got an Easter card. He made sure I knew
he was still
that
around.
He loved me. He always had that reminder. And growing up, I never doubted his love for me. I always knew that he did. I've always had his biological sister and brother in my life, and their kids. So I've always had pieces of him, and he always made it known that he loved me, despite his addictions and what he went through.
Now, throughout your childhood, besides the cards, and besides the once in a while I love you, did you ever get to interact with him much?
I didn't. My mom stopped me from seeing him when I was 16 months old. And to be honest, I remember it. It's the craziest thing that I can remember that. But I think it comes with, when something serious happens to a child, usually that sticks with them and they remember it regardless of the age. So I do remember that. And so at 16 months old, I stopped seeing him. And that was the best decision my mom could have ever made for me.
Yeah.
As hard as it was growing up without him, it was the best thing. He was in and out of jail pretty much my whole life. He was in Teen Challenge, in and out of Teen Challenge, which is the Christian drug rehab, which is all around the world. And that was the biggest blessing in our life. But it was hard. It wasn't easy. All through middle school, I couldn't talk about him. I would just cry. We didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to go on because middle school is a very awkward age, when you're growing. And I couldn't figure out why I was living in a cushionette and all my friends had perfect families, and I couldn't have my biological father in my life.
So at what age did you know the truth? Like, hey, my dad does drugs and that's why he's not here.
I honestly can't tell you because my mom was always honest with me. She was always honest with me. She never said one bad thing about him. No matter what he did to her, what he did to the family, because even though what he did wasn't intentional, when you have an addiction, you takes over, so you don't know what you're doing. But regardless of what happened, she always made sure I knew he loved me, and she was always honest with me. When he got out of jail, I would know. When he was in jail, I would know. And even as a young child, when he was in jail, I would get so relieved because I knew I wasn't going to get a phone call saying that he was dead. And as a child, that's not your worry. You shouldn't be worrying about that. You shouldn't be worrying about, is this call going to be from someone telling me he's not here anymore? And then that's when the regret started coming in. And I was like, well, what if he passed away and I don't know my dad? So it was hard.
Anger or regret?
I was angry because for a while, at the end, so like 8th grade, I started getting angry, because I had my 8th grade.
Most 8th graders get angry.
I had my 8th grade graduation, all of that, and I remember my dream was for him to be at that. And when I actually had one of my double knee surgeries in 6th grade, I told him that if he stayed clean for 2 years, I would see him. And it was a year and 10 months, and he messed up. So that right there just crushed my entire world. But I was okay because I had my mom, and then my dad, Scott, who adopted me. He loved me like his own, and they helped me. They picked me back up, and I was okay again. But yeah.
So 8th grade comes, and 8th grade goes, graduation.
Mm-hmm.
You finally realize you're getting to that angry point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you went through high school, basically the same stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Just figuring it out. You had
Same.
Scott, your dad,
Yep.
your mom's husband at the time, raising you. So you had that. You always had Grandpa.
My grandpa, he's awesome.
He's a good dude, man. He's a nice, nice man. And throughout these tough years where it's supposed to be the best time in your life, you're still going through your health issues. And you're still dealing with, the thought of, is my dad going to die? Am I going to get that phone call? And I don't even get to know him yet. It's not fair. At what point did you ever give up and say it's never going to happen?
So, I didn't. I always had that in the back of my head that it was going to happen.
The reason why is because you're a fighter. You know that, right? You've been through so much that nothing fails. You just get through stuff,
Yeah, I always kept that faith, and I also think it comes with, believing in God and the way that I do. You always have a greater faith than whatever you believe in, you always put your faith into something, and believe that no matter what, it'll all happen for a reason. And that's what I kept on telling myself. And I'm so thankful that it all happened. I never thought I would say that, but I am. The pain was worth it, and it's still worth it. It's still not easy. But my junior year, my biological dad graduated Teen Challenge in Maine. I remember seeing it on Facebook, and I wasn't friends with him. I didn't talk to him, nothing. And I just sat there, and my mom actually sent me it. My mom and my godmother sent me the picture in a group chat, and I got it and just cried because I was so proud. You know, like, there's nothing like, I didn't even know him, but I was so proud because I was just like, that's my dad. Like, he did it. He finally did it. And I remember that whole week I was thinking about him, and then that week I was out to eat at Pasta House. My phone went off, and it said that he requested me on Facebook. And my food came out, and I said, I need to go home.
Yeah.
You know, it was tough. I didn't know what to do because with a button, it's either, yeah, I'll meet him, or no. You know what I mean? It's just, it's
So
crazy.
that presented itself a whole other challenge.
Exactly, and I was, well, what do I do? So I accepted it, and that night, I got my first message from my dad telling me how much he loved me, how well he was doing, how proud he was, and it was weird. It was so weird because I didn't know how to react, you know, but I was happy because all through high school, you know, I had my dad, Scott, who was great with me. He's great with my brother and I. I had my grandpa, who went above and beyond. He did more than a dad probably does, but you always... He still does, and he never will stop.
No.
But you always...
That you guaranteed, your grandpa.
But you always have, you know, that missing piece, because there's nothing like a biological parent, you know, no matter what people did to fill that void, it would never be filled unless he did that. So it was hard, but when I met him, it was great, and then he ended up relapsing 2 months later. And that was when I grew up. All through, like, I've been through a lot, but that's when I really grew up. That's when I sat there and I was like, okay, like, I just lost my dad again. He's alive, but I lost him again. So how do I do that? You know, how do I get through that? And I did it. I don't know how, to be honest with you.
When you say you went through it, you did that, you don't know how you got through it. Get through what? Like, explain, because a lot of people don't know, like,
the emotions.
The emotions that you get from, you know, not again, my dad left me again, like, I just had him.
It's more of, why can't he do it if he loves me so much? I remember saying, why can't my own dad change for his biological daughter, the girl, like, I share his blood, you know, I couldn't wrap my head around that, and for a second you have to step back and realize that it's not you, and it never is you. Addiction's way bigger than him and I and everyone. It's not easy, but you do it and you keep on going, and you just deal with the emotions. It's hard. It's heartbreaking.
Now you have. I'm just going to interrupt because, you know, we're going here and give you a little second to breathe. You have 1 million fans here. I mean, you have people from, you know, Deb Fernandez, the champs.
It's my dad's sister.
Yeah, Christine Souza, who's also, besides you, she's like super babysitter.
I love her.
Auntie Christine.
Auntie Chris is the best.
Yeah, and she's cool too. And then, you know, Brooke Fatula, which is
my aunt.
Your aunt. Jonna Desso, Ruth Ann Rule. Everybody just keeps going nuts. Tara Costa Hutchins, Ann Cathcart. Alice Ramus says that you are such a well-spoken young lady. And then you got Nick Requeen, a friend of mine, who's been through a lot himself, and he says, no such thing as a perfect family. Every family has skeletons in their closet. Mm-hmm. Love those who stand beside you and pray for those who wander. And that brings me to the next part. Well, before Ruth Ann says you're a gift, which we already know.
Thanks, Grandma.
But you pray for those who wander.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought up your spirituality, and you just bring it up now. A 2-month relapse after this huge moment where you're like, I have my dad. And I see a post on Facebook, you know, Does God get you through this? Does it help to be faithful, and does it help?
It does. I don't know what I would have done without having him, having that to lean on, having, and it's not even just God. It's when you find a great church with a great church family attached. There were days where I couldn't even stand up on my own, and it was the hardest thing in the world, and it was them who helped. I have my mom, I have my family, but it's also the family that I met because of him,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even want to go to church, and I'd say I'm not going. They're like, oh no, you are.
Yeah.
And then I would go, and I'd just completely melt down, and it's what I needed, and if it wasn't for God and all of the people who were on this journey with me, I wouldn't have been able to make it.
So 2 months, he relapses, and then Dad's back in action again, as of recent.
He is,
We went out to New York and stuff, right?
He's been there for, I want to say 3 years now. He's doing really well. He's getting married Saturday.
Are we going?
Tomorrow.
Not tomorrow.
No, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday.
I was like, don't steal my Friday from me.
I am going. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's happy. It's not easy being away from him. It's not easy to build a father-daughter relationship when you live 5 hours away from your father. But that's okay.
That's where he needs to be.
That's where he needs to be. This is where we are supposed to be. This is exactly how it's supposed to happen. And it's hard, but it's the way it's supposed to be.
So he's been clean now for a few years. You said,
I think about 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah, 3 or 2
through Teen
years.
Challenge. And
Through
you've
Teen
maintained,
Challenge.
like we just skipped right to marriage and this wedding that you're going to Saturday. But during this time period, you've had some struggles with, trusting him and getting back. And I guess you did some visiting. I remember you were going to move to New York, and
I was.
you were going to work at Teen Challenge.
Yeah.
And
It's, I'm happy I didn't move there just because I have great opportunities here.
yeah.
And at first I was very disappointed. I was devastated. I cried for about a week. But I took that as I need to grow where I'm planted.
Yeah.
I need to be okay where I am. And it'll all work out as it did. And that also comes in with my faith in believing in God and just trusting that it'll all work out in His favor and in His plan. But no, it wasn't easy. It's still not easy. Father-daughter relationships aren't easy, especially with a daughter who's 19 years old. We're tough.
Yeah, of course.
But my dad works with what he knows. He doesn't know much, and that's okay, and I get that.
He's missed a bunch.
He
Drugs
has
have taken away from him,
He has
too.
missed a bunch, and he admits it all the time, and that's what makes me happy, is that he knows, he's aware, because there are a lot of people that aren't aware, or that don't want to acknowledge what they've missed or what they've done, and he has. But regardless, that doesn't change the fact that you still go through it. You still went through it.
I'm just going to point out the obvious, folks, that a lot of people probably see, but some of you might not. You're talking about a young lady who's basically at times felt abandoned to drugs, and to a father that just maybe wants drugs more than her. A child understanding addiction is not normal, and it's not how it should be. And she holds it together pretty good, and I know there's been times where she just sat back and why me a bunch of times. I want my daddy like everybody else does, and that sits there at times and fights with her mom and has nowhere else to go. I wish I had my dad here. And there's times that she's said, I hate my dad. I can't believe he did this to me. I can't believe he's doing this, and I can't believe he continues to do this throughout the relapses, throughout the jail terms. And then when you see all that and you know that she's gone through all that, she's happy now. She's like, it's okay. I personally can't get there. I don't know how she does it. It's amazing. She's an inspiration. And there's much needed, grace behind that. That to show that someone can just accept her dad now, and sorry, I'm going to go to his wedding, and I forgive him, and I'm going to move on, and I'm going to be his little girl, and I'm going to continue to try to help him, because part of his recovery is definitely going to be a relationship with his daughter. And there's no animosity or hatred in her tone at all, which is crazy. It's absolutely nuts that you can maintain, put all that aside, those emotions that I just described aside, and none of it showed tonight. And that's a testament to you. But I also want to talk about, what are you doing now to help yourself? We talked about your dad a bunch and the help he's gotten. And, the continued support he's going to need. Mm-hmm. But I mean, besides your health issues, gosh, all the stuff you've been through health-wise, you need a good, you've been through some trauma. What are you doing for yourself to deal with the skeletons in this closet?
I have a great support system behind me. My mom, my brother, my grandpa, both of my dads, great friends. It's all a part of not letting things drag you so far down that you can't get back up. I could sit and, with all that I've been through, I could sit there and say, poor me, why is this me? Why do I have to go through this? And yeah, there were times where I did, and my mom picked me right back up. And so I can't imagine not having that. So my biggest thing for people, especially children that go through addiction, it's not easy. And growing up, it was hard because no one understood. I remember, there are times where I would look at my mom and I'd be hysterical, and I'd just look at her and say, but you don't get it.
And she didn't, but she tried.
And she didn't, and so, and that was more towards, I didn't have anyone else to take it out on. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
But that was my biggest thing. Even in high school, you walk into a guidance counselor's office and, she sits there and they try to sympathize. And people are great. They really are. But sometimes you just need someone to look at you and say, I know, I get it. And when they actually do, and just hug you and tell you that it's all going to be okay. So it's all about community and who you surround yourself with, the supports that you allow into your life. Another one for me is, God and my church family. Like I said, they're amazing, and that's what it's about, and bettering yourself. You can always, I could sit here and say, you know what, he did that, why am I going to sit here? What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. I have learned that that's not the life I want to live. You have two ways. You can either follow that pattern and say, you know what, I'm a child of addiction, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what my family does. They're addicts. No, you don't do that. You get back up and you say, okay, he's an addict. Let me do this. What can I do to not be an addict? As much as I love him and he has an amazing heart, I don't want to follow the same patterns he does. And he doesn't want me to do that either.
Yeah, of course not. He knows that that's not the life to live, and he doesn't want that for his little girl. Mm-mm. Gosh. Yeah, a little just now. You continue to live your life and to love. And I used to be that guy months ago. I've said this on the show before, and I self-admit it was an incorrect way of thinking. It was horrible. I'd call myself a Christian and say, let him die. Enough's enough. But here's a case where you continue to love the addict and to show him love and to show him purpose. And you're going to be one of his strongholds in maintaining his sobriety. Mm-hmm. And you continue to love the addict mm-hmm. and help the addict. And, that's part of your job now because my next question to you is, what are you doing to help others now? Are you going to continue to do that? But you are helping your dad right now mm-hmm. by continuing to love him, by not getting angry with him, by not, mm-hmm. throwing this in his face, by being on this show and being positive about him. Mm-hmm. You could have easily came on here and trashed him, but that's not what you're doing.
It's not easy. It's not easy to not be angry. There are times when I am angry. There are times when I have thrown stuff in his face, which wasn't right. That's not what you should do to people. You can't kick them when they're down. That won't do anything besides really make it worse. I always see people offering judgment and, with addicts and, why are we saving them with Narcan? You've done it 3 times. Well, that's someone's brother, sister,
Exactly.
mother, father, and that was my dad.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is now, my pastor, Brian Doobie,
Another good
he
guy.
went through Teen Challenge. He grew up with my mom. He's known me since I was a little girl. He would actually, when my dad bought me Christmas presents, he would be the one to give them to me because I didn't want to see him yet. He's amazing, and he's helped me through all of this. He was part of my dad and I's, our whole restoration process, and he still is. One day, he said at church, he said, "You just need to love them back to life." And that has stuck with me ever
It's
since.
absolutely true. Jamie Casey, who just commented,
I've heard
called
it.
you his church peeps. He'll hammer that down into you that you got to love these people.
It's never felt more real, than dealing with what I've dealt with people, and even now I'll be out and I try to understand people more, you have to. It's just a part of life, whether you deal with someone who's an addict or you just deal with everyday things. You never really know what's going on. So what I want to do is I want to continue to love people back to life. I'm majoring in social work. So I'm very excited about that. I want to be the light for those little kids.
Now, your mom's a probation officer. You're going to work in the court, too, or you're going to do something else?
Oh, God, I don't know.
She'll tell you the paperwork sucks. She can't really...
Oh, it's terrible.
She can't really help the way she wants to.
Yeah, well, she does. But it's worth it, And even... I'm not going to be able to change the world. I mean, that'd be great if I could. I'm not going to be able to...
All you do is change one person, I feel.
But when you change one person, you change their whole entire world.
Yeah. That's our goal tonight, and like I told you. And you said, yeah. And it was amazing that you kind of went from, I'm looking nervous, to I'm like, Taylor, you can help one person. Like, all right, let's go. I was like, oh, that was easy. I thought you were going to bail on me,
I wouldn't do that to you.
No, I know, but I didn't want to force you to be on here.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're put on earth for.
Look into the camera, talk to the addict tonight. What are you telling the father, the mother of a child, as a child of an addict, to get the help? Like, what would you say to them today?
Don't do it for your kids. Don't do it for anyone else. Do it for yourself, so that way you can love your kids, love your family, so that way your family can love you the way that they're supposed to. And never look back. I get it's embarrassing, it can be hard, but when you have those people who love you, who will help you, and they will love you back to life. It's little things like going to Teen Challenge, going to PACA, talking to Jamie Casey. He's absolutely amazing. It's another person I wouldn't be able to get through this without. And just offering up everything you have left, even if you think you have nothing, there's still you. So you're just going to keep on going.
You're amazing. You going up to the wedding Saturday? You leaving
I'm going
tomorrow? You leaving tomorrow?
Yeah.
Excited?
Yeah, I'm
you
excited.
Driving?
I am.
Is that scary or what?
No, you just do it. It's just like life. You just do it.
There you go. Just my girl.
Bite the
nothing
bullet and
stops
go.
her. There's nothing. Like, my knees don't work fine. My stomach doesn't want to process this food, whatever, You just keep moving.
You just do it, and it just works itself out. Life works itself out the way it's supposed to.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to... I give everybody the, like Dr. Mike plugged his show. Is there anything you want to talk about? Any other organizations that you want to give a shout out to that you've dealt with and that help others, or?
Teen Challenge.
Yeah, that's everybody just comes out and says Teen Challenge.
Honestly, it's saved Teen Challenge. I mean, God is the reason I met my dad, but Teen Challenge was the vessel that made it possible for me to meet my dad. Now I can say I know him. I know his heart. I know him for who he's supposed to be, as well as many other men and women I've met through that program. And it's a great place. and it saved so many lives, so many people that I love, and so many people that I have yet to love, because I still go there, still go meet everyone over there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Taylor, for coming tonight.
Thank
See, it
you
wasn't
for
that bad,
having
was it?
me. No, it wasn't.
She was like sitting over there earlier, just like nervous. 7:27. I gave her a look, and she's looking at her clock like, "Oh no, in 3 minutes I'm gonna die." Wasn't that bad? I told you, right?
Survived.
You did. You didn't survive. You kicked butt. I mean, God, our viewership's through the roof, and you have 1 million comments. Again, Denise Malou, Hunter Thomas Lees,
Oh, Hunter.
Justin Mathia,
Oh, God.
Melissa Nader, and my mom. My mom made an appearance tonight. Love you so much, Taylor. So proud of you. She's
love
sweet.
her.
Listen,
She's my favorite person
she's
ever.
she's my,
Right after you.
She's my big, no, my mom kicks my butt. Romeo Resendes, you are my #1 fan, and I love you for it.
She's
Thank
the
you so
best.
much. And I couldn't, I'm turning into Kevin Rosario right now. Whenever I talk about mom and stuff, I get all teary-eyed. So I'm going to stop. Everyone else is here, and guess who just finished off the show? Melissa Cathcart. I love you, and I'm so proud of you.
She's gonna make me cry.
See, moms do that. They suck. They get you crying every week. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Again, people, your loved ones, don't stop loving them. I keep telling everybody this, that guy on the street corner that's on drugs that you just want to just yell at and say, get away junkie, that's someone's daughter, someone's son, someone's brother, someone's father. Be a little more compassionate. I know it's the easy way to just say, how the hell with them, they're doing this, they're breaking into cars and all that stuff. Yeah, trust me, I was that person. I used to say that stuff. And when you start sitting down and meeting with those affected by it, if anybody's supposed to be angry, it's supposed to be the daughter of an addict who missed out on a father. Take a lesson from a young woman tonight and just be more compassionate. If she can do it, anyone can do it. I mean, anyone. She's missed out on what we all have, what we all strive for, and what I strive to be is a good father. And she didn't have that. Yet she's here and she's like, oh, that's cool. He's a good guy, we're gonna, and she sees his heart and she looks past his addiction. Do the same for your fellow human beings. Be kind to them and try to help them get treatment. If any of you need any resources that are out there watching on Facebook, again, you can always email me, Chris at New Bedford Guide. Get down a PACA. Good friend Jamie Casey will get you the help you need. Reverend David Lima, Edwin Cartagena, Kevin Rosario, Wendy Tolley, all the people I've had on the show, get in touch with them, or I will get you in touch with them. If you need a bed tonight, come email me. I'll make sure tonight I will get the message out. I got guys like Corey Pina, who I deal with all the time. Kevin, I message. Jamie, we'll get you a bed. We'll get you somewhere. We'll make sure that you get clean and get back to your family members. Get the restoration project going tonight, guys. Thank you, everybody. Next week, we have Helena De Silva Hughes from the Immigration Assistance Center, along with Sheriff Tom Hodgson, who gets back from Washington, D.C., from the National Sheriff's Association meetings. This week, he's been there all week, visiting with President Trump. As usual, he'll probably have something controversial to say to you guys that you guys around here don't agree with, but he will be honest and he will answer all questions. We're going to try something out next week where we can actually have people come on camera and ask questions. So if you're interested, get ready. Get your webcam and your phone ready, because you can come live on with us from here on out. We're going to start trying to do this. Thank you so much to our sponsor, Knuckleheads. And have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. Taylor, enjoy that wedding. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
New Bedford Guide, stay safe, be kind, have a great week.
Hi, my name is Andrew. I'm one of the managers here down at Knuckleheads Bar and Grill. Knuckleheads has been in business for over 14 years, and we have some of the freshest seafood around. Here are some of our options that we have. Here is our amazing fisherman's platter that has fish, scallops, clams, shrimp, oysters, onion rings, and French fries. It is so big, I have never seen 2 people finish this platter. If fried seafood is not your thing, we also offer alternatives such as baked scrod with broccoli and rice. If seafood's not your thing, we also have amazing burgers. You can get it in 2 sizes, a half pound or this 1 pound burger, and they are delicious. We also have amazing appetizers such as our homemade linguiça and cheese egg rolls. We have great food specials throughout the week, which you can find on our Facebook page, and we also have great entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights with no cover charge. Thank you all for watching us, and hope to see you soon down at Knuckleheads, wherever